Most valuation metrics ask you to compare a single number to an industry average or a historical range. The Graham number doesn't do that. It takes earnings and book value, combines them into a single dollar amount, and tells you the maximum price a defensive investor should pay. One number, one comparison. Either the stock is cheap enough or it isn't. That simplicity is both its strength and its blind spot. Benjamin Graham introduced this formula in The Intelligent Investor, first published in 1949. The math is straightforward. Take 22.5 times trailing earnings per share times book value per share, then take the square root. The result is a dollar figure. You compare it directly to the stock's current price. If the price is below the Graham number, the stock passes. If it's above, it fails. The constant 22.5 comes from two thresholds Graham considered prudent. He believed a defensive investor should never pay more than 15 times earnings or more than 1.5 times book value. Multiply those together and you get 22.5. The formula enforces both limits at once. A stock can't pass by being cheap on one dimension alone. It has to be reasonably priced on both. Take a concrete example. A company earns $4 per share and has book value of $30 per share. The Graham number is the square root of 22.5 times 4 times 30. That equals the square root of 2,700, which comes out to about $52. If the stock trades at $40, it passes. If it trades at $65, it fails. The academic foundation goes back to Graham and Dodd's Security Analysis, published in 1934. The central idea is that intrinsic value can be estimated from financial statements. Market prices regularly deviate from that value. The gap is what Graham called the margin of safety. Research from the 1970s and 1980s confirmed that low price to earnings, stocks outperform, and that low price to book, stocks do the same. Oppenheimer tested Graham's full defensive criteria on NYSE stocks from 1974 to 1981. Portfolios built using those rules outperformed with statistical significance. The combined P to E and price to book filter worked better than either metric alone. P to E and price to book capture different things. P to E reflects how the market prices current earnings power. Price to book reflects how the market prices the tangible asset base. A company trading cheaply on both is offering two discounts at the same time. Graham saw that as a meaningful margin of safety. The formula has clear boundary conditions. Negative earnings or negative book value makes the product under the square root negative, so it returns nothing. That's by design. Graham built this for profitable companies with positive tangible equity. Growth stocks trading at 30 or 40 times earnings will always fail because the formula caps P to E at 15. Asset-light businesses and banks don't fit well either. Software companies carry value in intangibles that don't appear in book value. Banks have distorted book values from regulatory capital. The formula was designed for industrial-era businesses with factories, inventory, and property. In practice, Graham number screens concentrate in energy, industrials, financials, and utilities. These sectors have the tangible assets and positive earnings the formula requires. Tech and healthcare rarely qualify. The formula gives you a ceiling price for any stock with positive earnings and positive book value. It's a ceiling, not a target. A stock trading below the Graham number has passed one test, but it hasn't passed them all. The question is, which stocks fall below that ceiling today across the entire market? That's where the SQL screen comes in. Here's the query. It pulls every U.S.-listed stock trading below its pre-calculated Graham number, applies Graham's quality filters, and ranks by deepest discount. The key metrics table holds Graham numbers pre-calculated from trailing 12-month earnings and book value. We join to financial ratios for 3 quality checks Graham recommended alongside the formula, and to profile to apply the U.S. exchange filter and pull the current price. Return on equity above 10% separates genuinely good businesses from companies that are cheap because they're deteriorating. Debt to equity below 1.0 enforces Graham's view that equity should exceed debt. Current ratio above 1.5 ensures the company can meet short-term obligations. These aren't add-ons. They're filters Graham explicitly listed in The Intelligent Investor. The market cap filter at $1 billion removes micro caps where data is less reliable. The price below Graham number condition is what makes this an actual buy list, not just a filter on quality. When you run this, financials, industrials, and energy dominate. You won't find Apple or Nvidia here. Their book values are tiny relative to their market caps. so they trade well above the formula ceiling and get cut by the price below gram number condition. That's not a bug. Graham designed this for a specific type of company, and the screen reflects that design. 3 additional filters tighten the screen further. Earnings stability matters because trailing 12-month earnings can be distorted by one-time events. An asset sale or a tax benefit can spike earnings per share in a single year, inflating the gram number without reflecting ongoing earnings power. Filtering for 2 or 3 consecutive years of positive earnings removes these one-time inflators. Dividend history is another of Graham's original criteria. He argued that a defensive stock should have an uninterrupted record of dividends for at least 20 years. Even a shorter filter, say 5 years of consecutive payments, captures something real. Companies that maintain dividends through downturns tend to have more stable cash flows. The payment itself is less important than what it signals about management's confidence in future earnings. Earnings growth over the prior decade is the 3rd filter Graham recommended. A company with a gram number of $60 and a stock price of $40 looks attractive, but if earnings have been declining for 5 years, the gram number next year will be smaller. You want the ceiling to be stable or rising, not eroding. The gram number has 3 structural limitations that no filtering can fix. First, the formula is a snapshot. It uses the most recent trailing 12 months of earnings and current book value. Neither reflects where the business is headed. A company with declining earnings passes the screen today and fails tomorrow. By the time the deterioration shows in the financials, you've already bought based on stale data. Second, the formula ignores intangible value. In Graham's era, most corporate value sat in physical assets. Today, brands, software, customer relationships, and intellectual property don't appear on the balance sheet. A company with $5 of book value and $20 of earnings power might have a lower gram number. Meanwhile, one with $50 of book value and $3 of earnings power scores higher. The formula ranks the second company as more conservatively priced, even though the first has better economics. That mismatch has grown worse over time. In 1980, tangible assets made up about 80% of S&P 500 market value. Today, that figure is closer to 10%. The formula was built for a market that no longer exists in its original form. Third, the sector concentration creates undiversified risk. Financials, energy, and industrials dominate every gram number screen. These sectors are cyclically correlated. When credit markets tighten or commodity prices fall, a concentrated gram portfolio takes outsized damage relative to a diversified index. You can run the gram number screen live on CetaResearch.com right now. The gram numbers are pre-calculated for thousands of stocks across global exchanges, and every value updates automatically as new financials are filed. The link is in the description. Next video, we run a 25-year backtest of this exact strategy. Did buying stocks below the gram number actually beat the market? The results are more nuanced than the headline. The drawdowns are worth seeing before you commit capital.